to order at 7:09 on Tuesday evening in the council chambers for the Plan Commission meeting. Roll call by Secretary Barg.
Yes, Mayor T-Jake. You're here?
Yes.
Councilmember Peschel? Here. Mr. Caprillion? Here. Mr. Johnson? Here. Mr. Golden? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, he's not here. Okay. Ms. Besler? Here. Mr. Frederick? Here. We do have a quorum. I miscounted, I'm sorry. That's why I was calling the name of someone who's not here.
Thank you. Number 4, identify potential conflicts of interest. Please be advised per City Policy 3.340 that any member of the body shall declare a conflict if we have had an interest, financial or otherwise direct or indirect, or engage in a business or transaction or professional activity or incur an obligation of any nature that is in conflict with the proper discharge of the body's official duties. Seeing none, we'll go on to citizen comment. Are there any citizen comments? Are there any citizen comments?
I'm sorry, do we have approval of the minutes? Did I miss it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Approval of the minutes from August 16th. John and Alan, okay. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, citizen comment one more time, and seeing none, we'll strike it off and go on to number 6. Conditional use request by Troy and Beth Weiland for an exception to the paved area setback requirements for a driveway extension and parking area for the property located at 2314 Bologna Drive, parcel 33-04513, zoned SR-3, single-family residential. Presenter, Stephen Wiley, City Planner.
Thank you. So yes, this one is a request for a conditional use exception, and you will recall that this came before us as a workshop item at the last Plan Commission meeting. So the applicants have formally filed for review and hopeful approval tonight. So you will see the aerial showing the subject site here outlined. So a lot of single family residential immediately around it. There's a few vacant parcels in the vicinity, homes of differing character, somewhat similar scale in the vicinity. This just kind of shows a little bit closer aerial of the subject site and then the location towards the southern edge of the city there. This is the zoning map. So the immediate properties to the north and south are single family residential 3. And then some of the properties to the west are SR4, so a little bit denser zoning there. The future land use recommendation is low density residential for the subject site and the immediately surrounding properties. So this is the site plan that I believe I showed at the last meeting. This is what the applicant submitted showing that driveway extension as proposed, and the parking area alongside the southern edge of the property there, south of the existing attached garage. Pretty straightforward request. They're basically looking to just add additional parking on the site along with a 4-inch drain tile. So they are applying for this to be able to move forward with this project. We reviewed this and it sounded like there was Plan Commission support for this and precedent for it in the past. So with that, staff is recommending approval of this request to allow for this exception. The big thing is not crossing the lot lines, and that the installation of any paved area into the setback beyond what was shown in the site plan would require additional Plan Commission and Council review. I just wanted to note that the neighboring property owner on the south did weigh in, and she did say that she is okay and supportive of this request, I should say. So we did get a statement from her. And that's all I have on this one.
Great. Do we need a motion? Yeah.
We
be appropriate to do a motion and then get discussion after that.
Okay. We need a motion to accept this. Alan and Mary, and any discussion.
Yeah, the public hearing should come first. I'm sorry, that's my fault. I'm sorry, that's totally my fault. Okay. I apologize.
That's all right. So then we don't do anything now.
No, just Yeah,
Public hearing?
just, yeah.
Oh, so if,
It's a public hearing. Did anybody wish to comment?
yeah, anybody wish to comment in public hearing? So obviously be Troy and Beth.
And I believe the applicants are on via Zoom.
Okay.
At least I believe Troy is.
Ask if they want to make a comment.
Troy, is there a comment that you'd like to make?
No, I just thought I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the Plan Commission? Seeing no questions, again, we'll take a motion. Alan, second by Mary. Thank you. We'll do this all in proper. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Aye.
Any nays? And congratulations, your motion has passed, Troy and Beth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Condition use, number 7, condition use request by Andy Goodman of GMX Real Estate Group for outdoor commercial entertainment and exceptions to the paved area setbacks for property located on North Central Avenue, parcels 33-03209 and 33-03209C, zone CMU, commercial mixed use. Presenter, Stephen Wiley, City Planner.
Thank you. So this is obviously a commercial development that we're looking at here. So I'm just showing you the subject site here in blue off of North Central and North Peach Avenue. It is 2 parcels. The main parcel of focus will be this larger one with frontage on North Central Avenue. The eastern parcel is actually proposed for stormwater detention. So they are intended to operate as more or less one site, but the conditional use exceptions will be for the parcel here off of North Central. Obviously, as you can see in the inset map here that was included with your staff report, this one is more towards the northern edge of the city there. The zoning for the subject site and the surrounding parcels is community mixed use. So similar zoning along the Central Avenue corridor here. And then to the east, you can see some single family and 2 family residential. Future land use map recommendation for a lot of the properties along North Central is general commercial. This proposed land use that the applicant is coming forward with would be consistent with the future land use recommendation and with the zoning for that matter. So just getting into the site plan here, you can see Starbucks to the south. The existing Starbucks is here. And what we're looking at is the applicant wants to establish a restaurant use on this parcel north of Starbucks, along with, as I mentioned, the regional detention basin here to the east. And they would have some shared access drive between the Starbucks. Traffic would come off of North Central, enter and exit off of North Central there, and potentially out on the Peach also. But we would not be looking at additional access drives to North Central at this point. There may be a future access to North Peach, as shown in the site plan. But you can see where traffic would come in, circulate through the site. There is a drive-through component proposed here along the northern edge of the building here. There's an outdoor patio component that actually is going to require the conditional use permit because it is considered outdoor commercial entertainment. Associated parking, dumpster enclosure, and a monument sign here, which we'll get into in a little bit. This site, as I mentioned, is expected to operate in tandem with the Starbucks and the detention basin there. Getting into parking, and the applicants are proposing parking well in excess of what is required by code, so they would meet code there. Standards are pretty consistent, 1 space per 150 square feet of gross floor area for the restaurant use, and then 1 space per 5 people at maximum capacity for the patio use. They are covered there. A landscaping plan, the applicant did submit this as part of the process, obviously. They appear to be providing enough points to exceed code requirements. They would require both street frontage and paved area landscaping. And they ran the calculations. Staff, I reviewed these, and they're looking like they're in pretty good shape here. They do not need buffer yard landscaping because the zoning is consistent between this property and the adjoining properties. And this table just shows you, and this is from your staff report, just shows you the landscaping required. So not unreasonable requirements here for community mixed use. And then they obviously are exceeding that. You can see on the right there. Photometric plan, you're not gonna be able to see these individual values, and you really don't need to at this point here. Staff generally reviews these as part of the site plan review process, but I did ask them to submit this, if they were able to, obviously they did. The one thing that I wanted to note is on the southern edge of the property, and there are in red here, these red rectangles, there are a few areas where the light trespass at the property line would exceed the 2.0 foot candle maximum that code permits for commercial properties. So they have a couple of options. They can either revise this plan to bring their light levels down and not exceed the 2.0 foot candle maximum, or they can establish an agreement with Starbucks, with the owner of the Starbucks property, to allow for these heightened light trespass levels here. I'm not sure what they're going to do at this point yet, but they do have a few options. I don't foresee a major issue there. Otherwise, they looked like they met code at the other property lines and for the lighting averages on site. They did propose signage. The monument sign proposed would meet code as far as the setback. You can see on the upper right, the location just called out here off of North Central, where the most visibility would be. They would be meeting the required setback and area requirements for that monument sign. So that was submitted. You get a sense of the scale here. They have building elevations, and I just want to note that a lot of times these can change. So I don't want to say that these, they're not set in stone at this point. Maybe the applicant can weigh in at some point on these, but we put them in for illustrative purposes only. They do give you a sense of the scale of the proposed restaurant and the appearance, but also the proposed on-building signage, which would be reviewed at the time of permit submission. Just showing the other elevations of the potential restaurant there. So just to sum up, property is community mixed use zone. The CUP at this point is for the outdoor patio, so outdoor commercial entertainment. And then for the paved area setback, code does allow for shared driveways, but I'm running them through for this because they are going to be operating with the Starbucks site. And so it's an access drive. I think the intent of the code is more for driveways that are coming in off of, a thoroughfare like Central. Those you'll see a lot of times can cross property lines. But for this, we're running them through the conditional use process for that too. Shared access, cross-access agreement will be required with the Starbucks owners. And the applicant did say that they are in talks with them. They have a good working relationship with them. And I did hear from the owner of Starbucks, I believe, just before this meeting, and I believe that they are supportive of this project from what they said. Code compliance signage and stormwater management plans will be required for site plan review. And then for the, as I mentioned, the photometric plan, just addressing that issue of light trespass at the south property line. So with that, we are recommending approval of this request with the conditions and findings as stated in your staff report. And just, not going word for word through this, but the main thing would be the conditional use exception for the paved drive aisle, updating the site plan, showing the code compliant, showing that requirements are met, and submitting stormwater management utility plans.
Now we'll open up to a public hearing. Anybody like to say anything? Andy?
Hi, good evening. Pleasure to be here via Zoom. I'm here along with our project team to answer any questions that anyone may have, and we appreciate the members' consideration regarding our request, and we have enjoyed working with Mr. Wiley thus far, working through the process. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy.
You're very welcome. Any questions?
After all the permits and everything are approved, when are you looking at starting construction?
Great question. It could be as soon as late fall, which would help us from a constructability point of view. John Burkamper's on the phone here. He could answer any questions in that regard. Again, depending on when we get through the final approvals and permits, as early as late fall.
Anyone else? Can you tell me where the nearest Slim Chicken is from the new one that will be up in Marshfield?
The story's a good one. The concept originated in the southern United States. Since it started in 2003, roughly 550 to 600 franchise units have been sold around the country. It's a rapidly expanding brand, primarily based on fried and grilled chicken tenders, all things chicken tenders, chicken signature sandwiches, chicken and waffles, signature salads, signature wraps, delicious desserts, et cetera, et cetera. There are a few brothers that bought the franchise right to this part of the country. One of whom lives in Marshfield, the other in, I believe, Appleton. The first unit in Wisconsin will be opening in Appleton. And I believe it's either under construction or will be under construction here shortly. So this would be the second unit, I believe.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking forward to it. Anybody else? Any questions? Seeing none, please take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Facial approves the motion, second by Frederick. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. We look
Yes.
forward to working with you all.
Yes, we'll look forward to some chicken sandwiches and some desserts. If you want to bring them up early, we'd be great. We'd love that. Moving on to item number 8. Alternate sign request by Michael Riley of Merit Electric Service for an exception to the setback requirements for a freestanding sign on the property located at 406 East Depot Street, parcel 33-0356-1B, zone CMU, commercial mixed use, presented by Stephen Wiley, city planner.
Thank you. So this is an alternative sign request. You can see the subject site here. Probably most of you might be familiar with it. It is a pretty narrow and long site. You can see just from the aerial, the zero setback situation, at least along the southern property line, along a portion of the northern property line. And then I know our GIS can be off here or there, potentially along the west also. And we're actually gonna be looking more on the southeastern portion of the property. You can see the location in the inset map there towards the center of the city. Just off of, obviously, Veterans, North Vine and Depot Street, the railroad there. So the zoning, it's kind of a mixture, a hodgepodge of different zoning districts in this area. So the subject property and the property just to the west are community mixed use. The railroad is general industrial. There is some light industrial to the north, some single-family residential to the north, and to the south across Veterans Parkway, along with some urban mixed use across Veterans there. The future land use map recommendation is employment retail mixed use for this site. So applicable ordinance sections, the sign ordinance, section 24-0317A through E. Those sections include requirements for post and panel signs. This would really be a post and panel sign. It's just gonna be a simple sign mounted on a post. So that's how we would classify it in our ordinance. The maximum height is 12 feet for these signs, and maximum area is 40 square feet. And that's based on the zoning district there. I have highlighted, or in red here, the minimum setback is 5 feet. So that's why we're going through the alternative sign process. Mike had contacted me about this, about his intentions of putting up a freestanding sign on that site. And obviously, you can see from the aerial, it is a pretty tight parcel there as far as area that you can put a freestanding sign on. And he does have the potential to do, signage or a parking lot there in the future. He's hoping to potentially do a parking lot in the future on that southern portion of the site. He believes that if we required the 5-foot setback, that would obviously cut into the area that he could place a parking lot or anything else there. And that would be true. So that's why he's coming forward. The cardboard here on the left, this image shows you just a proof or, a potential layout for this sign. He said that it's still in the conceptual stages. So this is what they kind of mocked up at this point for the sign, just to give you a sense of what it would be. And then on the right is the aerial plan that he submitted and showing the location of the new sign. It'd be a foot off the property line, so a foot off of the railroad property to the south. He has a flagpole there just to the east. And then I believe, this portion here might become parking at some point. So just to kind of summarize his proposed sign, he is thinking probably a 7-foot maximum overall height, though it could be shorter. He did say that it could be shorter than that. Probably no more than 7 feet. So that'd obviously be well under the 12-foot maximum. The 30-foot square foot sign area would be the maximum area he's thinking of, and that's under the 40 square foot, so we're good there. The setback obviously is the thing in question here, and that'd be a 1 foot instead of a 5-foot minimum setback required by code. And that's why we are requiring the alternative sign permit. And we believe that there is some argument for this because of the limited area for freestanding signage on the site. So with that, we do recommend approval of this permit request. And, with the conditions that he would meet the area and overall height requirements for post and panel signs in the CMU district. Any and all parts of the sign would meet at least a 1-foot setback from the southern property line, and all required setbacks from all other property lines, and that he would require, or that he would obtain any required permits for, if he's going to do any illumination. I believe he mentioned doing external illumination, so electrical permits for that.
Okay, so I need a motion to accept. John and Nick, thank you. Any other discussion? Yes,
I
Nick.
just had a question. I assume that the reason for that being sort of an odd shaped lot with the southern edge shaved off there is for the field of vision for the intersection with the train.
That it might be. I'm not 100% positive, but I could see that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so there's not a likelihood that something will go in to obstruct his sign at any point?
I would not anticipate that at this point. Yeah. I'd be very surprised if something would go in at that right there. Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. Is there any risk of a sign obstructing a view there of the train?
I wouldn't think so. It'd still be located a decent, decent amount of distance.
And you'd preserve that triangle.
Yeah. Yep. It would not be within the vision triangle that we would require, at least.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the whole property's no setback with the building, so I don't guess I don't have a problem adding a sign as one more thing that has no setback.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mike. Number 9, staff updates. Any updates?
Well, I think Steve probably could weigh in too if he wants, but we're still working on filling the director position in our department. And I believe, Steve, if you're comfortable providing any more information.
Yeah, the deadline with GovHR, the firm that's been helping us do recruiting, does a lot of executive level recruiting in this area, gave us 5 candidates, and there's 2 we're focusing on right now. Hopefully one of them will work out. Keep you posted as we can. Mm-hmm. The other thing I'd like to bring up is the 2nd Street corridor, 2nd Street redevelopment plan, which is a lot of buzz for. People are excited about what could be in that area west and north of Chestnut and 2nd over there by the post office going for the ball fields. I'm pulling together a group of individuals from different organizations, stakeholders, if you will, to just take a look at the plan and kind of highlight what some of the things are we'd like to work toward, what staging there might be that would have to be done to make some of this happen. What resources do we have? Vandewall, the consulting firm that did the work with us on the ad hoc committee, they're willing to continue through the implementation stage if we want. Our financial advisor can help us set up a TIP district. What are the other things we would need to try and get some of this stuff happening? It's just really a preliminary meeting to take a look at it with people from CDA, Economic Development Board, Council, Mackey, Main Street, and Lois has agreed to be on as mayor, but I'd be looking for ideally one member from this body to join that meeting. What we're looking at scheduling the meeting for is in the first 2 weeks of October, so 6 or 6:30, one of those nights, the week of October 3rd or October 10th. If anybody from this body would be interested in joining, please, wonderful.
Thank you, John.
I'll connect with you via email and talk about what dates you're available. That'd be great, because we do look forward to it. I mean, it's not going to happen immediately, obviously, but it's exciting to start planning for what implementation could be. Thanks, John. That's all I have.
Okay. And item number 10.
No updates on any other help for Stephen?
Well, we've had some conversation, and Stephen's actually been part of this a little bit, although it's wearing thin, I'm sure. But the thought is we really wanted to get a development services director and have that person be part of it. We never expected this to take, I know, to take 6 months. And I keep telling Stephen, you can only do what you can do as one person. We've tried to keep him away from thinking about bigger, longer term projects, because obviously when you're this short staffed, you can't think about bigger, longer term projects. There's probably things on the radar when this year started that we all know are on the shelf, but we'd like to get the associate planner position filled after that. I guess we just have to see what happens with this round. If nothing comes from this round, then we have a lot of conversations. There's been discussion by a couple of other groups, including the Economic Development Board, about the model. I mean, if we're having a hard time finding somebody to oversee all 3 areas of economic development, planning, and building inspection, maybe we need to revisit the model. That may come into play if nothing pans out from this round of candidates. I don't know. I mean, if we don't get anything out of this, we'll be having some bigger conversations, and we'll certainly keep the Plan Commission apprised.
Yeah, I understand that point of view, getting whoever that director of the department would be involved in hiring. I think that makes a lot of sense. I just don't want to see it go too long, because
I know.
I'm sure we're missing things that could be done or are important, but because Stephen's only one person.
John, you're so right. And on the economic development end, some of us, including Stephen himself, are pooling to try and keep those balls. Stephen's done a marvelous job. He's been part of our executive team along with the finance director. You really have, with the finance director and the public works director and me, dealing with some of the prospects that want to build in the business park, the industrial park, downtown. And it's been a team effort, but obviously Stephen has done just an amazing job. If something doesn't come from this hiring piece of it, the third effort, find somebody, we're going to have some pretty serious conversation.
Just curious on if you had 5 candidates, what narrowed it down to just 2?
Well, even though they're a quality search firm and they look for, again, executive level recruiting, department heads for local government all across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, 3 of the 5, they just didn't seem to be very good fits. I mean, they have backgrounds that maybe have some involvement with planning or community development, but not at the level you want to see for somebody for a position of this nature. And it was only 2 that I think we felt interested in looking at this point.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Otherwise, item 10, items for future agendas.
So I think we might be bringing forward an ordinance update for the subdivision ordinance. As far as, if you think about some of the outlots or some of those landlocked parcels. I've been working, Josh and Emmett had worked on this before they left. Some ordinance language to allow some flexibility for development of in certain circumstances of some of those lots. Obviously, we want to be careful because there are cases where, it may not be appropriate to have those lots develop. But there are other situations where we want to allow the flexibility. So that's something that I've been kind of working on. So that may be coming forward. I don't want to say for sure at the next meeting, but at a future meeting.
Can I throw one thing into that too? I didn't touch on the mall. The mall agreement has been now agreed to by the council and the developer. So you're going to see a lot of things happening at Marshfield Mall in the next few months. A lot of, renovation, interior work, the excitement of having Hobby Lobby, Ross, Planet Fitness, Five Below. So look for that to start unfolding as we get farther into the fall, and hopefully early in 2023, that will be a reality for our citizens. And that will also play, like Steve might hit into the outlot, because they do have hopes that when they get that done and they get the parking lot redone as well as part of this project, that maybe they'll be able to look at outlots on that site.
And so you see larger like commercial properties like the mall, or if you know, like Menards up there, where some of those lots to the south of that are accessed off of that private access drive. Those types of scenarios are the ones that I'm thinking of, where, you know, it's appropriate to have a site operate as one site, maybe limit access from the street, depending. What we probably don't want is to have it where everybody and their brother is willy-nilly just chopping off portions of the property and selling them, and then we're developing those. You know, we don't want that. But larger parcels like the mall, some of those larger commercial developments, we could see merit in doing something like this.
But you do see communities where on the perimeter of a mall, there might be a small restaurant or those kind of things. And in order to even make that possible, we'd have to look at some ordinance like this to make it, like I said, code compliant.
Seeing nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.